From the DMZ to the NATO front, this is CRN.
Hello, and welcome to the Kershner Files. Well, hello, and welcome to Episode 8 of the Kershner Files, coming to you from the Augusta Precious Metals Studios. I went back to my roots a little bit, got some articles to discuss about a wide range of topics, actually. But first, let's get to some, announcements maybe? I don't know. We'll go with that. So, we are in the middle of week 141 of the illegitimate, fraudulently elected ding-dong's tyrannical reign. We have 397 days until the next election. Trump is in court all the time. He's been spending time in the New York court for the fraud case that he's got. They booted Kevin McCarthy from the Speaker of the House seat. And the Speaker pro tempore immediately evicted Nancy Pelosi from the Speaker's little hideaway office that she was allowed to retain by former Speaker McCarthy. Literally told her, you have to be out by today. We're rekeying the locks. I thought that was petty and beautiful. I loved it. I laughed. Let's see. There's a emergency alert system test happening today at 2:20 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. At 2:15, I'm planning on turning off my phone and my laptops. And I'm not going to turn them on until 3 p.m. So we'll see what happens. I don't know. Apparently they did this maybe 10, 12 years ago, but I don't know. I think the federal government's up to something, but we can't figure out what. So I'm going to be turning my stuff off as my own little test to see what happens. So got a phone call last night from Buckeye Valley Beef Cooperative. They wanted to follow up, make sure everything was to our order's specifications. If we were enjoying the side of beef, we are. We're enjoying it quite well. If you're in and around Ohio, they do ship. So check out Buckeye Valley Beef Cooperative. They had the best beef prices per pound that I could find. And they were local. So to me, here in Ohio anyway. Oh, there's a number of gun shows. And I thought I'd expand my reach or something. But we have a gun show. Let's see. So I went to C&E gun shows. That's the one those are the organizers that I typically promote because they're the ones that do the gun shows here in Ohio. But they're also big in Virginia and North Carolina and Pennsylvania. So if you go to this, it's called cegunshows.com. You can go there and you can see a list of all the shows that are coming up. But for the month of October, there's a big gun show in Fayetteville, North Carolina. Then the following weekend, next weekend, is a big show in Concord, North Carolina. That's just north of Charlotte. And then on the 21st and 22nd, they'll be in Dayton, Ohio. That same weekend, they'll be in Salem, Virginia. And then to close out the month on the 28th and 29th of October, they will be here in Columbus, Ohio at Westland Mall. Now, that's just C&E gun shows. And I thought, all right, where do a lot of preppers live? Well, Montana, Idaho, Michigan. So I decided to go to those and did a basic web search for a term, just a simple three-worded search. Montana gun shows, Idaho gun shows, Michigan gun shows. And I wound up on this, for all three, I wound up on the Gun Show Trader website. And this weekend, there is a gun show in Choctaw, Montana. I don't know. The Choctaw Gun Show will be held October 6th to the 8th and it'll be held at Chotel Pavilion and Community Center and hosted by Sky Blue Shows. And then there's one next weekend in Lewiston at the Fergus County Fairgrounds in Lewiston, Montana. And then Idaho, we've got a gun show this weekend at the Bonneville County Fairgrounds in Idaho Falls. There's another one this weekend at Phipps Watson American Legion and Community Center in Marsing, Idaho. It's called the Marsing Gun Show, so there's something for you. And then in Michigan, there is one in Lapeer Gun and Knife Show at the Lapeer Center Building in Lapeer, Wisconsin, next weekend, the 13th and 14th. There's one this weekend, the Original Gun and Knife Show at the Lansing/Mason Gun and Knife Show at the Ingham County Fairgrounds in Mason, Michigan. There's a one-day show at, I don't even know what that means, on October 8th, the Livonia Militaria Show at the Livonia Elks Lodge number 2264 in Livonia, Michigan. October 10th, Wolverine Knife Collectors Club monthly swap meet. That's in Livonia as well at the Green Mead Historical Park Friends Meeting House. And then next weekend, there's an Indian Art and Frontier Antique Show in Ann Arbor at the Washtenaw Farm Council Fairgrounds. Oh, we got more. They're all over the place. There's a lot of gun shows. And the Gwynn Gun and Knife Show in the Gwynn VFW in Gwynn, Michigan. That's next weekend. The Hart Gun Show at the West Michigan Masonic Center in Hart, Michigan. And that's October 4th. That's a one-day. Another one-day is in Niles, Michigan on October 14th. Bend of the River Gun Show at the Bend of the River Conservation Club. And I think I might have said it wrong. The Hart Gun Show is also a one-day event on October 14th. There's another one on October 14th. The Oxford Gun Show at the American Legion Walter Frazier Post 108 in Oxford, Michigan. They got a bunch of them. So just do some basic searches, and you can find a gun show in your state that you might be able to get to. I imagine I could probably do another search for Texas gun shows or Tennessee gun shows or Kentucky gun shows. But that's the simple search that you need to do, and you will find results, and you'll be able to find some items there. So that's it for announcements. We'll be talking more on the weekend show in the lightning round about McCarthy and Pelosi and the week that was for Trump and for Biden, and we'll get into all of that this weekend. But the highlights so far, as of Wednesday, Speaker of the House McCarthy has been fired by, well, every Democrat plus 8 Republicans voted to remove him from office. Jim Jordan is throwing his hat in the ring, and Pelosi, for some reason, was allowed to keep the Speaker's office. They keep referring it to as a hideaway office. I don't know why. Maybe there's some sort of special designation. But she got booted by the Speaker pro tempore, a Republican out of North Carolina. So I just thought that was funny. So, all right, let's get to some of these articles. They got some good ones here for you today. Oh, forgot one. There are Survival Realty. I get an email every Monday from these folks, and they've got a number of different things. There's a 10-acre wooded lot close to Sandpoint, Idaho, for $230,000. It's in Sagal, Idaho. There's a cabin for rent in Montana for $750. I don't know why that's on there. There's a $574,000 plot. It's being listed or billed as a true prepper's paradise. Live off the grid with a fully paid for ground-mounted 10-kilowatt solar field with a 16-kilowatt battery backup that meets all your power needs. There are 2 deep wells, one with filtration, and an additional shallow well which is used for irrigation. Living here is like owning your own park. Click for details. I clicked it, and the house was built in 1990. It is just shy of 10 acres. Pictures look pretty nice. I don't know if you're in the market for that. It's up to you. I thought I'd point it out. All right, now we're going to get to some articles. The first article that I've got here is from the Organic Prepper. It was written by Daisy Luther, and it was an interview that she did with a gentleman named SELCO. And SELCO survived a year in Bosnia when his city was blockaded. He's got some books out that you can go search for that are available online. And it's a pretty lengthy article. I'm not going to read it all to you, but some of the highlighted sections. The reason I picked this one is because it delves with a number of different topics, but the primary topic in here deals with bartering, and I thought that that's probably something that's worth talking about. So the first question that Daisy posed to SELCO was, how quickly did people turn to barter once your city was locked down? And he said, it was a matter of a few weeks. Actually, for ordinary folks, it was a matter of a few weeks because we did not get the new reality right at the beginning of everything. Later, when I remembered that period, I realized that even right at the beginning of SHTF, there were people who did not want to take money for goods. They asked for valuables like gold, jewelry, or weapons for goods that they had. Some of them were smart enough to realize that the money was going to become worthless really soon, and even gold and jewelry were only good in the first period, and then only if you had a connection to the outside world to exchange it for something useful. Ordinary folks needed a few weeks. It was a process that went from buying goods with money, then buying goods from people who still wanted to take money at outrageous prices, to the moment when money was worthless and only goods for goods were accepted. It was rare, but sometimes you could find someone who would sell you something for foreign money, but at 20 to 50 times the price. For example, if a pack of cigarettes cost $1.50 in German marks outside of the war region, we could buy that pack for 40 German marks. So they had hyperinflation. US dollar and Canadian dollar had an even worse value. Obviously, people would accept that money only if they had a connection to the outside world, and some of them ended up as millionaires because of that. For small and quick trades, the usual currency was cigarettes because of the percentage of people that smoked. Even values were expressed often like, oh, that's worth 10 cigarettes. In other situations, it was ammunition or bullets. The next question, how were trade items valued? If someone wanted to make a trade, who set the terms? His initial thought and immediate response kind of goes to my line of thinking, which was nothing was fixed. Throughout the whole period, the value of goods went up and down based on a lot of things. For example, if a UN food convoy managed to enter the city and some local warlord usually took it all, and the majority of the food was cans of fish, you could count on the fact that that month those types of cans going to be cheaper than the month before. Or if that day's U.S. airplanes managed to hit the drop areas in our area, then MREs were going to be a bit cheaper to find. Sometimes a simple rumor planted by rival groups, for example, about poisoned cans of cookies, meant that people did not value it so highly anymore. Some things did not change value too much during the whole period, like alcohol, simply because it was available. Other things' values was a matter of the situation. And he gives an example. If you had a sick kid at home and you needed an antibiotic and you spread that word, you could expect high price simply because you gave that information that you need something really hard and fast. But usually we knew the value of things or goods for that week, for example, at least approximately. Let's see. Some of the other questions are, what were the general rules of trade during this time? Are skills or products more valuable? What were the top physical items for barter? Do you recommend that people stock up on things specifically for barter? If so, what kinds of things? That's a good question. Should you have precious metals as a means for buying goods when SHTF? What were the top skills? Were there markets for bartering, or did people mostly do this in private? How did you remain safe when trading goods and services? What were the risks? What were some myths about barter that most people think are the truth? And there's a bunch of sub-questions in here. I'm not going to read the whole article to you. There'll be a link for it in my show notes. So if you want to read all about this, gentleman SELCO, who survived the Balkan Wars, go read this article. It's very informative, and it'll maybe help guide you a little bit better on your preps and the things that you're focusing on or not focusing on when it comes to bartering. All right, the next item is titled 6 Most Profitable Animals to Raise on Your Property. And a lot of these pretty much go right down the line of what a lot of us are thinking. I'm not going to read you the article; it's quite large. Again, the link to this article will be in the show notes. But it is not numbered, of course, but the six most profitable animals to raise on your property are chickens, ducks, pigs, rabbits, sheep, and goats. But this one came from Self-Sufficient Products. I'm having a hard time with words. Came from Self-Sufficient Projects. It was posted by Abigail Demoa on September 28th of this year. So there's a link in my show notes for that, so you can go read all about that. All right.
If you're like me, you've wanted to buy gold for years. Lots of commercials out there. But who can you really trust? I didn't want a bad investment, but I didn't want to miss the boat either. Sound familiar? Fortunately, I've got great news. If you have an IRA or 401k and want to buy physical gold, eliminate fear and uncertainty from the process using the new Gold IRA Company Integrity Checklist. It helps you evaluate and choose the best gold IRA company. I used it to personally vet Augusta Precious Metals, and they're absolutely phenomenal. Use this checklist to choose the best gold IRA company. To get your free Gold IRA Company Integrity Checklist today, text CONTRA to 68592. Again, text CONTRA to 68592. That's CONTRA to 68592. Or go to AugustaPreciousMetals.com. Have you or someone you know ever had a hard drive crash? Or maybe your cell phone or tablet died, taking all of your pictures with it. You've thought about backing up your data, but all of the plans out there cost too much money for just a little bit of storage space. Well, now there's a solution. Got Backup? That's right, Got Backup will allow you to back up unlimited devices, up to 6 terabytes of data for only $9.97 a month. And that's not all. You can earn commissions by referring friends and family too. Got Backup is the only data storage center that allows you to earn income on your referrals. Check out Got Backup now. Log on to john-jeffers.com. That's john-jeffers.com. Log on now.
The next one here is an article by Michael Major. I don't know. This guy's got time to write stuff. I don't know. But he's on Ask a Prepper. And it's titled 6 Post-SHTF Communication Myths. I'm currently writing a new fiction piece. It's a freestanding book. It's not going to be a series or anything. And it's got a lot of preparedness content in it. It's got a lot of current events in it. It's got a lot of self-sufficiency topics in it. And one of them, obviously, is communication. And so I found this article and I was like, well, let's see how good I was in my writing and in my understanding and in my knowledge and in my beliefs of what assets or types of communication can be used. And Michael Major's going to try and debunk some things. So what are some of these communication myths? He says CB radios will be useless. And he writes, Citizen band, or CB radio, is a channelized section of the radio frequency spectrum from 26.965 to 27.405 megahertz, occupying the 11-meter band. CB radios were very popular amongst hobbyists and truckers because they needed no license and the equipment was affordable and widely available. In recent years, the popularity of the CB radio has waned due to the widespread use of cell phones, cheap offshore ham radios, and the variety of other license-free radio options. There are a lot of better options than CB radio, but that does not mean that it is useless in an SHTF scenario. In the book No Grid Survival Projects, of which I was the primary author, I wrote a chapter on how to increase the power of a CB radio by simply building a better antenna. This turns a simple and cheap CB into a transmitter that can reach out much farther than the one that is fixed to a vehicle. The next thing he says is you don't need an amateur radio license after SHTF. Well, that kind of goes without saying. It's going to be pretty much a free-for-all. There's not going to be any kind of regulation on these forms of communication after SHTF, because presumably the federal government's no longer standing. There's no FCC to come after you or anything like that. And he writes, no one is going to check for your license or throw you in jail for transmitting on amateur radio bands after the SHTF without a license. That being said, you're not going to be very effective in your radio communications if you do not practice now and understand how the equipment works. Ham radio operators are constantly exercising their equipment and tweaking their setups so that they have effective and efficient communications after any disaster. If you do not have a license, you cannot practice or participate in amateur radio exercises or nets to sharpen your skills. Getting licensed is a critical first step in a post-SHTF communications plan and cannot be ignored. So, what he's saying is you need to go get the license now so that you can keep your skills honed for when the SHTF does actually happen. Another myth, number 3, he says, all you need is a box of boa fangs. I've got a bunch of these. And he says, the boa fang handheld radio has seen a massive surge in popularity amongst preppers because it is cheap, effective, and easy to get. Many preppers bought several of these radios with the misguided thought that they could easily use them after a disaster to stay in touch. The truth is, buying these radios is only one step in the process. Boa fangs are notoriously hard to program. I can attest to that. You can use a program called Chirp to program them, but that means you need to know what frequencies to put into the radio. This is where an unlicensed preppers fail in their comms preparedness. You cannot program a test a boa fang without being a licensed amateur radio operator, and if you do not program and test your box of boa fang radios, they are going to be useless after SHTF. No comment. An SHTF comm setup is expensive, is his next myth. And he says radio gear can be really expensive, but it does not have to be. Even though radios produced in China have a lower build quality, you can use them to create a budget-friendly emergency communications station. Antennas for many radios can be built using little more than a few easily obtained connectors and the proper lengths of wire. A wide array of information is available online, yada yada yada. Next, ham radio is the only SHTF communication option. He says if you are hell-bent on not getting an amateur radio license, there are other methods you can use for emergency communication. Family radio services and general mobile radio service are options that do not require an amateur license. GMRS, or General Mobile Radio Service radio, requires a license, but no course or test is associated with getting one. CB radio is another possibility, and the equipment to set up a CB radio stations is widely available. Another myth, the last myth, you can't have effective comms off-grid. There are many people who assume that you cannot have effective communications without the grid. This is simply not the case. In fact, all amateur radio communications will be easier in the absence of the RF noise that the power grid emits. With a low-power ham radio, you'll be able to communicate worldwide using Morse code or digital modes. You can also communicate with voice over long distance as well. Locally, you can use repeaters, which should have backup power to have effective local communication. If you're serious about preparing for emergencies or SHTF, you need a good emergency comms plan. That goes without saying. So that's that. Here's one. And it's by Michael Major as well. And it was written on Ask a Prepper. It was written on July 14th, 2022, or it was published a year and a few months ago. Oh boy, I feel like I covered it before, but I'm going to do it again. These 10 types of people will die first when SHTF. And I've read through this list, and he's not wrong, in my estimation. You may disagree. Number 1, people who panic. Number 2, people with no survival skills. Number 3, pacifists. Number 4, people with no supplies. Number 5, the lone wolf. Number 6, those who don't bug out in time. Number 7, people with chronic illness. Number 8, the indecisive, which is kind of like people who don't bug out in time. Number 9, people who talk too much about their preps. And number 10, people who lack the will to win. If you don't have the, gumption, if you don't have the right mindset, That's what he's talking about here. If you don't have the right mindset to do what you need to do to stay this side of terra firma and protect yourself and your family, yeah, you're not willing to do what is necessary, you're not going to make it. So that's his list of 10 people who are going to die first when SHTF. You need to be able to make decisions. You need to be able to do them calmly and not panic. You need to be able to read the tea leaves, so to speak, and get the heck out of Dodge before it's too late. You need to be boning up on your survival skills. That means primitive survival skills as well. Building up your preps. People with no supplies aren't going to last very long. You need to have a group as well, because you don't want to be the lone wolf, because you're easier to take out, because there's just one of you. So that's his list. And then I got one more. This one's titled, The Guns the Government Doesn't Want You to Have, which I find ironic, because they don't want you to have any of them. But this list was compiled by Nicolas Oetken on August 31st of 2023. I must have found Ask a Prepper for some reason. I don't know. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guns the government doesn't want you to have, but he didn't number them, and he didn't put that in the title, but that's just his headings. And his list is AR-15 rifles and carbines, or carbines. The AR-15 is both the most popular rifle in America as well as the most vilified. Depending on which side of the debate you're on, the AR-15 is either one of the best weapons you can own or is the absolute bane of firearms existence. A common argument made in favor of banning AR-15s in America is that nobody needs an AR-15. If this is true, then why do an estimated over 1 in 20 Americans own one? The reason is pretty simple. It's a good rifle. Let's see. Number 2. The AR-15 pistols. Another AR-15 that deserves its own category is the AR-15 pistol. The pistol is simply an AR-15 with a 10-inch or lesser barrel. Under current U.S. federal law, civilians can legally own AR-15s with 16-inch or longer barrels, or AR-15s with 10-inch or less barrels, pistols. The AR-15 pistols have received extra scrutiny from government officials due to the fact that they are easily concealable. Under current federal law, firearms classified as pistols cannot be equipped with a stock that enables the pistol to be fired from the shoulder, because if they are, they become classified as short-barreled rifles, which are restricted. To get around this, AR-15 pistols are commonly equipped with stabilizing pistol braces, which have also been receiving extra scrutiny from government officials because of a variety of things that the stabilizing braces... it's a touchy subject. Number 3, the AK-47. The AR-15 is perhaps the most disparaged firearm by gun control advocates today, but the AK-47 is a close second. This rifle is actually the most popular semi-automatic rifle worldwide. It's well known for its inherent ruggedness and reliability, and the 7.62 by 39mm round it fires actually offers a bit more power than the 5.56 by 45mm NATO round for the AR-15. To the government officials arguing for the prohibition of AR-15, the AK-47 is every bit as evil. Any law enacted that bans AR-15s will almost certainly ban the AK-47 and its associated variants in the same law. Number 4, pistol caliber carbines. These are often vilified by the same gun control advocates arguing the prohibition of the AR-15 and the AK-47. The reason is pretty simple. They look just as scary as AKs and ARs. Also known as PCCs, pistol caliber carbines Also known as PCCs, pistol caliber carbines are short, shoulder-fired rifles that are pistol caliber ammunition. I have one of these. Shh, I didn't say that. Be very, very quiet. This includes guns like pistol caliber AR-15s, Beretta CX-4 Storm, CZ Scorpion, HK MP5, Kel-Tec Sub 2000, Ruger PC Carbine, and the Sig Sauer MPX. On one hand, pistol caliber carbines lack the range and power of a carbine firing rifle ammunition, But on the other hand, they are much easier to shoot with less recoil and are cheaper to shoot as well. And lastly, I've always wanted one of these. I don't know why, I just do. But the last one on his list is the Barrett M82. Who doesn't want a big, bad 50 cal rifle? I've always wanted one. I don't know why. Maybe it's the gun enthusiast in me. But he writes, the Barrett M82 is a 50 caliber semi-automatic sniper rifle that is one of the most powerful shoulder-fired weapons in existence. The 50 cal BMG round it fires is the same round used in the 50 cal Browning M2 machine gun. This fact alone makes it a prime target for pro-gun control officials. No kidding. The M82 is most famous for its use in the military, where it was used to engage enemy personnel at long distances. But believe it or not, the Barrett M82 was actually marketed to civilians before it was marketed to military units. The gun saw very limited service in the 1990s and wasn't fully adopted until the early 2000s. Today, very few civilians own the Barrett because of how expensive it is. No kidding! It's like $2,500, I think. But that hasn't stopped government officials from forcefully advocating it be banned from civilian use, with the argument commonly being that it's too powerful for civilians to get their hands on. The above 5 types of guns are perhaps the 5 most cited by gun control advocates serving in the government, calling for certain types of guns to be banned. Whether they actually will be is yet to be determined, will likely be an ongoing struggle unless there's a massive cultural shift one way or the other. So, for now, however, each of the above firearms we've discussed are legal in the United States, and hopefully will stay that way. So, who doesn't want a 50 cal sniper rifle? I don't know if you can see it, but for my birthday, some friends got me these 50 cal flashlights. So it's got a little. This is the actual size of a 50 cal round. Look how big that is. And I got a flashlight in there. My friends seem to know me. Another thing I got for my birthday is this over-the-shoulder backpack. And I didn't want one of these cross-slung fanny packs that everybody's wearing. I had a messenger bag like this. It's a one strap, and it's got 1, 2, 3, 4 zippered pockets. It's got a little thing here for water bottles on the side. Can you see that? There it is. There, got that. It's big enough for my laptop, but I like to wear something like this underneath my winter coat, something that I can have on but easily rotate around my body, like this. So if I have it on, I can easily rotate it, and I can get into the zippered pocket and pull out my concealed carry. And I can do this underneath my my winter coat. I can just have this on. It's got pockets all over here for cell phones and other stuff. You can, unzip this in the. And I checked, my cell phone actually fits in there because I have a mini, or if you got a flip phone, you can put it in there. But I got this for my birthday, and I wanted it specifically for my concealed carry. I did not want one of those freaking over-the-shoulder fanny packs that everybody's wearing nowadays. So I don't know. Little equipment demo for you, I guess. I didn't intend for that, but that's how it goes. That's the show, and we ended it with a little show and tell. Do I have anything else? No, that's it. I had to check my bookcase. So anyway, we'll be back on the weekend with the lightning round, episode 147. We'll be talking about the week that was and all the shenanigans that's taking place in DC and around the world. So we'll be back next week with episode 9 of the Kershner Files, and we'll be back this weekend with the lightning round at the Saturday show and we'll cover the week that was. All right, guys, that's it for me. So be good, stay safe, keep your head on a swivel. I'm out.
Happy Hunger Games, and may the odds be ever in your favor.